Alright everybody, welcome back to Building Thomson Island. Today we are not just building Thomson Island, but we are also building our first ever roller coaster in the series. So yeah, you best be excited for that. Except this time we're not going to say it in a weird way like attacking toucans over there.
So you best be excited for that if you know what I'm saying. Yes!
But anyways, jokes aside, we're going to go right into the series. This is episode 4. We're going to start skipping the intros because these are taking way too long. Let's get into it. This is basically an episode of just building a coaster. This is episode 4 of Building Thomson Island. Alright, well, right off the bat, honestly, I'm doing this narration about a month after I record this, so I'm not entirely sure, I don't really know how to get down to the nitty-gritty of what I do here. But essentially, right now, I'm just trying to make a failed entrance update, because this honestly looks kind of shit as it stands right now. So, we kind of just gotta remedy this. But it didn't really work out that well, because there is a planter area right there with all the flowers and stuff, and that's a bit of a pain, and we can't really pave over that, so I had to just end up getting some mulch and filling in these spots of grass with them. And later on in the series, we will fill these up with trees and stuff. Now, I'm not sure if trees can actually grow from mulch. Wait, can they grow from mulch? I don't honestly know that, but like I said, in the last episode, we discussed how I was a florist in my past life, and I was actually, I actually grew flowers in my past life, so, this is actually my expertise, but, we're just gonna have to stand by on that one. I'm not sure if trees grow out of mulch, but, we'll fact check that later. It's not a big deal right now. Anyways, yeah, just filling up these kind of gaps right here, and we don't really have to do this, up to that, building, that intimate level right there, but we're just doing it anyways because it honestly looks kind of cool. So yeah, with all of that done, we start to we eventually get to building that coaster right there. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to tackle the commentary for that, because you're just building a coaster, so I guess I'll just talk about the process of doing it, and what I'm thinking of next, and what the plans for the coaster is going to be. So yeah, that's kind of my approach to this, I guess. Also, additionally, okay, very coherent there, and a nice job, guys. Nice job, dude. That was very nice. Anyways, like I was saying, additionally, just one word, additionally, we are going to be not speeding up the footage as much. It's gonna be more or less 2 to 3 times the original footage speed, so we can, yeah, that'll be so you can just see yes, thank you very much, I appreciate it. So we can just see the details a little bit better. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot more interesting, so we're gonna slow it down just a little bit. Anywho, right now we are, if you didn't notice already, there were these little slabs of concrete that stuck out after we were making the whole entire tiled floor here, because it definitely looks a lot better than the queue in and of itself right there, because if you just leave the queue as it is, there's just gonna be a lot of dead spots in between it, a lot of grass. And the way amusement parks are set up in real life is it's mostly with the mentality that it's you walk everywhere until they tell you that you can't walk there. So basically, everywhere is game. You can walk anywhere you want, except for the parts that they tell you not to walk. So that's kind of what we're trying to go for here. And it's going to be a thing where we're not setting up the pathways, we're setting up the objects that people can't walk through. Well, I guess they can walk through because no clipping and stuff, but you get my point. So that's kind of what we're doing here. And these little mulch areas, we're going to be able to plant some stuff there in the future. Anyways, as you can see, we are literally reaching up into those cracks and crevices and filling them with mulch. Yeah, we're just gonna go straight up into that crack, just really reach up there and just drop a bunch of mulch down. Yeah, because, what good's a crack without mulch, you know what I'm saying? Dirty jokes aside, this is one of the hardest things to commentate, ever. It's just, so hard. Forget placing walls, forget placing paths, the really boring stuff nobody wants to watch, which is the reason we're fast-forwarding through it. No, forget that. Placing mulch is the most pain-in-the-ass thing I've ever seen. And it's the hardest thing to commentate, because you're placing mulch. It's just about as interesting as watching paint dry for 40 hours straight. It's not that interesting. alas, we are finally getting into building the coaster. Thank God. As you can see, since this is technically, statistically the oldest coaster in the park, that we didn't make the lift hill completely straight. So, we made it kind of wonky and wobbly, and that's kind of the whole entire point. And also, the drop isn't going to be that good at all. There is going to be no airtime on this drop. But we are doing a little bit of a double down thing here, where it's a little bit of a second drop and it dips you down a little bit. I think I ended up changing that a little bit, reprofiling it because that was a bit too extreme. Because remember, we're going for a really old coaster here, and old coasters aren't really known for their intense thrills. Right now we're just giving it a little bit of a test ride, it's riding pretty good for what we want at least. We want a really janky old thing that, it makes you think that it's plausible that this was built over a century ago. That's kind of what we're going for here. So, we smoothened out that drop a little bit because we don't want it to be that rough. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, just riding this real quick, it does look pretty nice, and you have a little pop of airtime there, but we don't want it that extreme, because coasters back then weren't really thrill-based. They were more for, at least now, in today's standards, they're more family kind of oriented, I guess, so that's kind of what we're going for here. Now we're just going to do this kind of like, I believe I called this the tidal wave. I think that's what it's officially called. But it's just this little twister area right here, and you definitely get a pop of airtime on that first hill there, first banked hill, and then over here you start to get into the building and interactivity where you actually interact with the buildings, this is probably my favorite. I wouldn't say it's my favorite part actually. I think I like the first drop a little bit better, and the ending. The ending was pretty good too. But this is going to be a little bit of a, ejector area. Also, another thing I forgot to touch bases on about the ride is, this ride is going to be called Raging Thunder. That's right. Raging Thunder, that is the official. I'm not sure if I disclosed that before, but yes, that is what the ride is going to be called. And yes, I did search up on our RCDB that, and I did confirm that this is the only coaster in the world called Raging Thunder. Which is a bit weird. You'd think there would be another one, but guess not. But yes, that is the official name. Why is it called it? I'm not sure. Ask the people that built this thing a century ago. Anyways, right here after the airtime section, you have the mid-course brake run. So we can run this at a decent capacity. And then you get this, after the train slowed down a little bit, you get this little smaller scaled section that goes over into the queue. And this is the most intense part of the ride, because you get thrusted up into your lap bar on these airtime hills here. Like, these are pure ejector hills. You're getting -1 Gs here, looking on the heat maps here. I tried to go directly past this, but we ended up just doing another airtime hill, which is pretty good, I'd say, because more airtime, can't really complain. And we just wrap it up with a little bit of a slightly banked helix over here that goes right over the photo booth and kind of dives right under that first airtime hill, so it's a very coherent kind of ending there. And it's a very photogenic moment, because all of this takes place right over the queue, so anybody down below can just immediately see, the coaster, because, that's like the most entertaining thing to watch in a queue, and that's the coaster going by, so the more interactions that the coaster has with the queue, that's for the best, because it's guest comfort, I guess, you could say. So, yeah, the kind of idea behind this as well is that this was not left unaltered throughout the years, alright? So, the idea is that PTC came back, which is a coaster coaster manufacturer. PTC is their Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters. That's what that stands for. And they're known for their very historic old wooden coasters. And the idea is that this park and PTC went in and made a deal, and that this park contracted them to refurbish this ride over the years, like 7 times or something like that, and that's why it's somewhat bearable. But there are certain points in the ride that have been untouched, and later on you'll see that we're going to be doing this a little bit of a color scheme type thing, where it makes it very apparent to the viewers that which parts of the ride were left unaltered or when the ride was changed. It's kind of hard to explain right now, but but you'll see it a bit later. But essentially we're going to be repainting the railings in correspondence to when the track was last altered. Now, we run into a little bit of a block section issue here, which, I mean, to be fair, I really can't be complaining about block sections because it is so much more complicated if you're working on a real coaster in real life, because block sections are just something that you have to incorporate into every coaster. And if you don't know what they are, go watch an El Toro Ryan video. He'll explain everything you need to know. Any video. Anyways, yeah, so those are a pretty integral part of the ride, and that's because otherwise a train could collide with another train without block sections. So we got to make sure that we iron those out. Now, that obviously can't happen in this game, but you know, the worst consequence for not doing good block sections in this game is poor capacity. And because we have a very small queue right now, we need that line to be moving pretty fast. So, yeah, that's kind of our main concern here. So we want to be running at least 2 trains on this. We do not want to be running 1 train ops on this coaster. And hypothetically, like back in the day, it probably was running 1 train ops, but like I said, the block section was probably part of the refurb done by PTC. So, yeah, in real life though, it's probably a lot more stressful because there isn't an automatic algorithm. They probably have to do every equation, every math problem to get those just right so that the trains don't collide and kill everyone. So, yeah, as you can see, what happens is if you don't do good block section work, the train will stop at the top of the lift hill, which is not what you want, because you want to carry that momentum all the way down the lift hill, and it won't do that if you don't get your block sections right. So, as you can see, in the future, I don't know when exactly it is, but we do add some final brakes right there. It currently just flies right through that station, but we're gonna change that in the future. Yeah, so that's pretty much the coaster done, like in the first 10 minutes. I know it didn't take that long, but right now we're just gonna be working on doing the supports. That's pretty much what we're gonna be doing for majority of the video, and color coding the track and working on the queue. 2 things we're gonna do is we're gonna make an official POV for this. Now, one thing I haven't revealed since till now is that Thomson Island will have an official YouTube channel and website. So this virtual theme park is going to have an unofficial website and YouTube channel where we're gonna post all the POVs and some fun other stuff as well, of all the rides and all of that stuff, just to make it feel a little bit more realistic. And that includes, in the station, we're going to be, at least of this ride, we're going to be playing pretty much a video of advertising the ride and kind of a stat video, basically a narrator. We already hired a narrator for this, where he's going to be talking about the ride, all of the stats, the history a little bit, and that'll just be a lot more interesting. I'm pretty excited for that because it did turn out pretty well. Anyways, I don't want to really ruin the garden with this because that garden is just so nice. So it's kind of tricky going around this because we need to make it look like semi-realistic. So currently it looks like a gust of wind could blow this whole entire ride over, and that's not our intention here. So we got to make it look somewhat sturdy. I think we did do a decent job at that, but the dilemma with this twister section in particular is that it's right next to the garden, and we don't want to really ruin the garden, the view of it. So I think interaction with it is pretty good, but it's not. We don't want to make it that glaring, if you will. So that's kind of what we just do. Right now, I'm gonna just like fast forward through all of this, go back to original building speed, because this isn't really something you need to see. It's just, well, I mean, I think you should see it, but it's not something you should see in detail because it's a whole lot of adjusting these supports. And yes, these are actually steel supports. That is correct. So they thought it was more reliable instead of adding Instead of adding wood supports to these areas, they thought that to, better the view and make it a little bit more coherent and a little less busy, they decided that they should add some steel supports to these. So that's what they did. And by they, I mean I, because I'm way too lazy to do the individual wooden supports. So this is about as much as you're getting with me as far as custom supports go. I just can't bother with supports. I cannot be bothered with them. These are some of the most pain in the ass things to do. in the game. And that's just because it's very tedious. Every piece needs to be placed individually. And while I am making an effort to do stuff by hand now, and build a lot of stuff by hand, I just really don't have the brain power for it though. One thing that has helped me though was the soundtrack, and I know it's really cliche to talk about the soundtrack of a game you're making videos on, but like this is just insane. Like the soundtrack of this game is just so good. Like I can't stop raving about the soundtrack. It is just unbelievable. It's like the perfect soundtrack for this game because it's just what the game needs. It's this very soothing track, and it's very like, you know, chill, and it's exactly what this game needs. It oddly fits it. You'd think that they'd go for a more energetic theme with, you know, the whole entire idea being a theme park and stuff, but no, it's very relaxing. And, you know, like recently on drives, like driving down I-95, the interstate, like you just bump this, and like there's no tiredness at all. You get no like fatigue, no stress. Everything is out of your mind. Easy pass, fast track entrance opens up right as you drive past it. Nope. Not a single care in your mind. Okay, like no worries at all with this soundtrack. I swear, this is such a soothing soundtrack that I am literally putting this on everywhere. Working, driving, everything. This is crazy. This soundtrack is just so unbelievably good, and I just cannot stop talking about this because it's one of the joys in life, honestly. Like that's what we've been putting on for most of the series so far. I did experiment with putting on a little bit of trap, you know, generic trap, but like honestly, I think I'm just gonna stick with this soundtrack most of the time. And I might go back to the Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 soundtrack because I did play that a lot back then. I did play the Roller Coaster Tycoon games a lot as a kid. Those were my childhood, honestly, and it's really nice to see that whole entire concept being fleshed out into a game as cool as this. So yeah, just before you, like, when I complain about this game and all of the issues with it, like, before you talk to me about what it was like back in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, trust me, I was there. I was building stuff in those games. I know what it was like. I'm just saying, we could be doing a lot better in this game. So, just constructive criticism there. Yes, I do know what it was like in those past games, and I do know the strides that this game has made. And one of those strides is the soundtrack, I will have to say. That's giving credit where credit is due. Like, this soundtrack is pure bliss. I just can't with this thing. There's so many songs that are just complete fire. There are beats that are just absolutely crazy in this game. And then there's just really chill songs that really put your mind at ease. So yeah, I just can't with the soundtrack. Like, usually, usually with games, I put on just Spotify, you know, listen to, you know, my usual stuff. But yeah, for this, no, I just cranked the soundtrack way up of this game. It's really good. Anyways, yeah, as you can see, I just put don't die fences around the perimeter of the lift hill because we don't want people, you know, kind of, you know, just wandering around there and sticking their hands on rails and getting their fingers severed and decapitated and whatnot. That's a class action lawsuit waiting to happen. But so yeah, we just kind of have to avoid that for the time being. Of course, we have a pretty good legal counsel, not gonna lie. I mean, we could do pretty much anything we wanted to. We can, like, rob park guests, we can, like, steal from them, trap them in the park, you know, kidnap them, but, you know, we have such a good legal team that, well, you know, it doesn't matter. We're like, legally immune, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, great stuff. But, yeah, we still don't want guests getting their limbs severed. So that's not at the top of my priority list, honestly. But as you just saw, I just put down this, it's too late now, but I put down this, kind of intensity card. So you see in a lot of Cedar Fair parks that they will put up signs in front of the rides telling you how intense the ride is. Now, a lot of times, these intensity signs aren't very good. They're not very good at doing their jobs. Like, honestly, did the intensity signs ride the rides? Or, like, do they have any first-hand experience? Because I don't think so. Because, like, Backlot Stunt Coaster, that's rated a 5. And that's on the same level as, like, Orion, Intimidator 305, Twisted Timbers, Leviathan, Orion, Diamondback. It's literally on the same level as all of those rides. Like, are you kidding me? Backlot Stunt Coaster? Yeah, they shouldn't do that. That's so misleading. It's like, it draws a lot of crowds that don't want a really intense ride away from certain rides that are actually perfect for them. But they think that it's really intense. It's kind of weird, actually. I know they gotta factor in, like, kids' rides and stuff like that. And, like, some kids' rides might be, like, a 4. Some kids' rides might be, like, really gentle, like a 1. Gentle rides are a 1. Like, rides that don't really have any forces and stuff like that. That's completely understandable. But it just gets really, really bad later on. Like they'll have a generic boat ride or a antique cars ride or a, you know, bumper cars or stuff like that as like a 2 or 3 intensity. And I'm like, what? That's just the stupidest thing ever. Those should be 1 intensity, but they're not. And yeah, I just get very upset at the HOSA rankings for no reason. That's one of the things that really triggers me with amusement parks, because you have these ultra intense rides that are at 5 level intensity, and you have these like borderline kiddie rides that are at the same level. Yo, what are you doing, my guy? What are you doing? Yeah, we do have a special guest in the office who is taunting me for no reason, being a complete jerk right here. So yeah, we're just gonna ignore that real quick. You know, just ignore what he says. He is definitely taunting. So yeah. Anyways, as you can see, we're just hiring some security guards right now because we did not hire any, actually. So, or janitors for that matter. Look at this. Look at the grounds. This is terrible. There's vomit everywhere. There's like litter all over the place. Oh my god, that's horrible. Anyway, sorry about that. Sorry about the clips jumping all over the place. I mean, I wouldn't like that, but it's just that my disk storage is kind of low. Oftentimes I just completely run out of memory, because these take up a lot of storage to film. I film at 24 FPS. I film these time lapses because they don't need to be any more than that because they're time lapses. But still, these take up a good 20 gigabytes every episode, like every 30 minutes that you record. And I have no idea why. It shouldn't be that demanding, but it does take up a lot of storage. So yeah, oftentimes I just have to stop recording a video and, you know, just finish the commentary of another video so I can delete all that footage and get back to filming the current video. So it's a little bit of a dilemma. So I even got a storage upgrade, another hard drive put in. So everything should be fine, but it's taken a lot of storage up. Right now what we're doing is we're actually putting up screens of the lore of this coaster. So yeah, we actually made custom info cards of this coaster so people can actually understand why it's here and what's going on. And I'm a fan of how they turned out. I think the screens might be a little bit too big, and it's all a bit out of order and wonky. I do change that off camera later, so no need to worry about that. At the end, we are putting all 5 of the info cards that we have here so people can read it in a row and just like understand it fully. Obviously, when this park is done, there is going to be a download link to the park and all of the files in it. So you're gonna have to download all of the files for it to work, all of the workshop items, which is going to take a while. And you're gonna need to download all of the videos and audio files and images I have. But yes, you will be able to eventually go into the park so you can read what all of the info cards there say in the history of the ride. But real quickly, as you can see, we did get the advertisement video in the game, so it's displaying right now, and that worked out pretty well. And like I said, the video turned out pretty well. At the end of today's episode, instead of doing cinematic shots, I'm just going to show you the coaster POV that we recorded. And next episode, well, honestly, I'm not sure exactly, but I will be showing you the finished product. Well, I might not, but you know, we'll see. I might be showing you the finished product of the Raging Thunder advert that is playing right here. You know, it's like it's all done and finished and stuff, but I'm not sure if I should show it to you now or just wait to officially upload it on my channel and the Thomson Island channel. Like, I'm not sure if I should do that. Just let me know. If you want me to play the advertisement next episode, just let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for that. But right now we're just working out some trigger stuff so that when the coaster leaves from the station, the video will start playing. And yeah, I think that turned out pretty well. And in a little bit, we start color coding the track. So it's a pretty boring process, honestly, but you know, it's just cool to theorize when all of the tracks existed. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get that image in, so I had to refresh the game and reload it and shut it down. So yeah, we didn't import that image, I don't think. So that color code image explaining what all of the colors mean. But we are now really color coding the edges of this track. So I think blue means, I'm not sure what blue means, but you can just take a look at that that kind of billboard there, kind of explaining what the different colors mean. But essentially, the different colors just mean when the track existed, and brown means that was the original untouched track. But all the other colors just signify the last time that the track was retracked and touched. And I think blue was like one of the first retracks. Yeah, blue was the first retrack since the original coaster, and then it just goes on further than that. So essentially, we're just ranking this by smoothness. So like the smoother parts of the track are going to be hypothetically retracked later than the other tracks, and the roughest parts and the most jankiest parts are going to be the oldest pieces of track, because that just makes sense. So yeah, the times that the tracks are white, green, and purple, I think those are the most recent retracks. So yeah, that just makes sense. I did those more recent colors with this dip here and the twister section, the tidal wave as I call it. So I don't know why they had to retrack the mid-course brake run. That's like the part they should retrack like last. That should be practically untouched. Let's just there's one thing to add here about the retracks. Just because it's this most recent retrack doesn't mean that these retracks happen soon at all. Like the blue retrack probably happened like 80 years ago. So like a lot of this stuff is pretty old. Just because it's been updated doesn't mean it's not historical. So it's pretty much just like the white retrack. The white retrack is probably like the retrack that took place after Cedar Point took over the park. So probably no more than like 20 years ago. So yeah, it's still a very historic coaster, don't get me wrong. But they just had to update it periodically to make it rideable so it doesn't break your back every time you ride it. Anyways, that is the last thing we do in episode 4 of Thomson Island. And here's a POV, and yeah, I will see you all in the next one. Bye.